Hello, I'm Kayla Ashbrooks, and I currently have the pleasure of serving as a student advisor on the Student Leadership Committee for Sigma Tau Delta. In a few moments, you'll hear from several of our wonderful student leaders who are discussing our 2022 Common Reader, Dear Martin by Nick Stone, through the exploration of a series of questions. This week's question discusses classroom application as it asks, how would you teach Dear Martin? We look forward to you joining us in this conversation by sharing your thoughts in the comments.
I would teach Dear Martin as an introduction into character analysis. Every character in this novel is interesting and has really complex motivations that can be tracked throughout the course of the story, especially as they change throughout the novel. We also see the many ways that racism intertwines with these characters in different ways, from the explicit racism by police, the uninformed narratives of Jared, the accidental tokenization of justice by SJ, which he makes efforts to apologize for, and the way that all of their actions impact the main character. This web of character reactions would be good for students to study when writing works of fiction and learning about dialogue.
One way you could teach Dear Martin is framing it through a historical lens, pairing it with activities that are designed to truly understand Martin Luther King Jr. and his philosophy. Students could not only read and annotate his speeches, his writings, but could also look back to how the media portrayed him. To bring it back to today, students could compare and contrast how MLK was portrayed in the media back then to how current civil rights activists are portrayed now. This would teach students how to use critical thinking skills when consuming media, while also giving them the space necessary to learn about the complex problems that have been present in this country.
If I were to teach Dear Martin in my classroom, I would first want to take a moment to remind my students that I'm a safe person to come to with any questions or concerns that they might have about our class or school or their life in general. In terms of teaching the novel, I want to make sure that my approach to it is based in empathy and discussion so that students have a chance to talk about or question about the things that they're wondering about when they don't have another outlet to do so. I also think it'd be really valuable to take Dear Martin and pair it with the teachings of civil rights activists that are found in Justice's Societal Evolution class.
To a college audience, I would teach Dear Martin alongside pieces about respectability politics to deal with the political reality behind the questions that Justice is asking Martin, such as when he theorized, if I made sure to be an upstanding member of society, I'd be exempt from the stuff that those black guys deal with. Novels offer us a unique way to explore political emotions, whether it be fear or rage, all while getting close to the character and developing our own empathy and understanding of situations. To involve students more in the story, I would encourage them to write their own letters to someone they would like to emulate, or perhaps craft a response to Justice using Martin Luther King's old advice columns in place of a traditional essay. In a different approach, I would teach Dear Martin in conversation with other epistolary novels and focus really on the form. How do studying the letters shape and impact the story? How does audience matter? And how would it compare to a text like Dracula or Letters to a Young Poet?
If I were to teach Dear Martin in a classroom, I would first want to emphasize that I am not an expert on any of the subject matter, but I would want to focus on the struggles that young people like Justice face and about the civil rights movement and the Black Lives Matter movement and what they have been doing. A character in the novel takes a class that goes through these kind of things and it changes their entire perspective, and I went through a class and it did the same thing, so I would want to focus on those things.
If I were to teach Dear Martin in a classroom setting, I would take each of the main pinnacle moments of the book and do short papers based around how society could change or should change based on those specific scenes that happened to Justice or Manny, or maybe even other characters such as Jared, and reasons for why they may have acted the way they did. Justice, maybe ways maybe he didn't act. So I think that would be a great way to teach it, would be to go through with short essays at each defining pinpoint in the book, following those issues, and see what society could do to change or get better to that respect.